everyone, welcome back to the Wild Thoughts podcast. I'm your co-host Kat.
I'm your co-host Afi.
And today we're doing an episode all about comparing timelines and being jealous of your friends and how to stop doing that. Because I feel like most of us do that.
It happens to everyone a little bit, I think.
It has to happen to everyone.
Yeah.
It's just your level of catching yourself and like knowing how to...
awareness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So first let's get into the question of the week.
Yeah, so the question of the week was, do you find yourself comparing timelines to your friends? 36% of people said yes. 29% of people said sometimes, and then 36% said no. So we got a tie.
It's pretty split.
Okay, that's good though.
Yeah.
I'm glad not everyone does that.
Yeah, I'm also glad. What's your answer?
I think I do compare.
You do?
Yeah.
I think I sometimes do.
Yeah. I think I'm better at, if I do, I'll, tell myself, I'm more aware of it and I'll be like, no, but I think, subconsciously, if I'm on social media, when you don't verbalize it, but, a thought, behind your...
Yeah.
Behind your head, behind your mind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it, pops up. But I always try to correct myself.
Yeah, that's good. I think also, for me, it's more on social media that I'm like, oh...
When you see
I wish
things,
I was like that. I wish I had that type of thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But friends, close friends, I don't think I compare myself to.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's more the social media.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's usually strangers or people I don't know because I'm creating this idea of them in my head, which is their best self because that's what they're posting about.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and they probably have the measure of success, the difference between, not the measure of success, but in my head, I feel like they're way more up there, you know?
Sure. So. For sure. And we're going to talk about why.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to get into what jealousy is first. So I was actually watching a TikTok video and it's so funny because it popped up right before this episode.
Love that.
But basically someone was kind of describing what jealousy is because they were saying there's jealousy and there's also envy. But jealousy is usually kind of a negative feeling towards someone you know or you don't know. And you kind of try to put them down because you want what they have. And it may stem from insecurity, maybe low self-esteem, confidence, and things like that. But it's usually kind of a negative feeling. Mm-hmm. Whereas envy, it could be kind of positive in a way because it's not necessarily that you're trying to put someone else down, but it's just that you would want what they have for yourself, maybe in the future, or now, and you can work towards it, but you're not wishing ill upon the person. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much, I think, the main difference. And in the TikTok video, that's what they were summarizing. And I kind of agree because I feel like you could be envious. And everyone's sometimes envious, you want what someone else has or that's a goal for yourself. And you're like, oh my God, that's so cool. But it doesn't have to be negative. It could be something you aspire towards or you're going to work on that motivates you. But yeah.
So it's learning that difference. Basically.
Exactly. Are you envious? Or are you being... Is there ill intention? Mm-hmm. So that's more jealousy, I would say. Yeah. If you're trying to knock someone else just so that they don't get to their success because you can't get there or because you want it to yourself or something like that. Yeah. Exactly. Usually why jealousy happens, so it's kind of the reasons I stated before. Usually it's if someone has low self-esteem, low self-confidence, or even may feel threatened by the other person. Yeah. Maybe they're going to take something away from them. But usually stems in general from insecurity, not being solid with yourself and who you are, maybe having doubts, which is normal, but I guess just try to realize and not go towards those negative emotions. Mm-hmm. And a quote from a clinical psychologist and relationship expert. So they said, someone with low self-esteem generally has a negative view of themselves. So when their friend succeeds, they compare themselves and feel inferior. They compare and they believe they are less lucky or talented or valuable than the other. Mm. Yeah. So I feel it's really... internal work and internal work, is that a word? Internal work, inner battles that you have to, it usually doesn't have to do much with the other person, but just more yourself.
Yeah, because you could be jealous of your friend, but if you're solid with yourself, you could have that thought and be like, okay, but they're doing something different. It's not what I'm doing.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
And I'm happy for them.
Exactly. You catch yourself.
Exactly, and you want the best for your friends usually. Yeah, and I think it's normal. even sometimes, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, they did that. Like, why can't I do that? You know? But it's usually like, oh, why can't I? Like, it always comes towards like the doubt in yourself, which you kind of have to like catch yourself and be like, okay, look, you're two different people. You can't associate you and someone else who's completely different. Like, everyone grew up differently. Nobody in this world has the same circumstances, the same like environment, looks like you.
There's so many factors that affect it.
Exactly. Yeah. So don't ever think that you're going to be the same as someone else. That would not make sense. So don't be comparing yourself. I feel like the other person, so if you're jealous of a friend, the friend may not realize it right away. So I feel like more the issue now is to deal with the person that is jealous. So how to deal if you're the jealous friend? First, you'd have to recognize that you have these jealous emotions and kind of not be in denial about it. Like, be straight up with yourself and be like, okay, I am, maybe resenting my friend or being a bit negative because I have a jealous feeling. And that's something like hard to own up to, I feel like, to be like, oh, I'm jealous of my friend.
Exactly.
Like a stranger, okay, whatever. But a friend, it's kind of like, oh, are you selfish? Like, why are you jealous
exactly.
of your
So
friend?
It's like, if you recognize it, then you have to pinpoint why you're feeling that way.
Exactly. Yeah, that was my thing. Next thing, why are you feeling this way? And like, are you struggling with your own self-worth? Like, what is it within yourself? And what would help you maybe not be jealous of that person? Like, what type of work? Maybe like writing down the valuable things you bring in the friendship. Because one thing I was reading was that usually you feel like you're not giving anything back and you're not valuable, and like your self-worth basically is very low. So maybe like writing down like, okay, how do I contribute to the friendship? Because I feel like in our heads it's all like gibberish, but once you actually like concretely like things you like about yourself and things that, well, just being you is valuable at the end of the day. So you don't even have to have like this whole list of like characteristics, but it helps
you internally.
Internally, and just knowing like all of the things you like about yourself. So I think it's like self-love also, and just not putting someone else on a pedestal and in your like creating this image of yourself and the other person, you know? Yeah. And I think it just overall comes from insecurity and like perception. It's like your mind kind of playing games.
Oh, 100%.
You're like, you're putting yourself down in your head, but in reality, you're probably just as good as the other person.
It's like, you can feel that way internally, but like you said before, the friend doesn't recognize that because like they're focused on themselves. Exactly. And you should be too.
Exactly. Especially if someone, like, let's say the friend is in general like secure with themselves, like there may not be like overthinking about like oh, like, did I affect this person or were they being weird towards me? Because they're like,
and it's not their job to.
No, exactly, 100%. That's the person's
your
job.
Problem.
Yeah, your problem. You don't deal with it. But also, I think sometimes when you become jealous of a friend, you tend to like distance yourself a little bit, react like differently, maybe a B. I mean, resent them maybe a little bit, like not communicate as much or open up because you have that like barrier. So I think just being honest with your friend, like let's say they're not aware, but maybe just being like, oh, this is why I'm struggling to sometimes connect to our conversations. Like it's something like internally that I need to work on. And that's why like sometimes some subjects that we talk about, like maybe I'm sensitive to, or I'm not super like attentive. So maybe just communicating it to them so that way they're like,
a boundary.
Exactly. And they're like, oh, okay. But doesn't mean the friend's gonna feel like sorry for you or like stop talking about their stuff, but they'll be like, okay, this is why maybe they're in another zone, or they're not super like receptive, or just maybe not the best listener, but not communicating as much. So I feel like sometimes if you want to be honest and you feel comfortable doing it, but you don't have to say like, oh, it's because I'm jealous of you. Yeah, but just more be like, I'm just like struggling.
It's affecting
with
me.
Things. Exactly.
And I think you have to communicate that it's affecting you, but you don't want to put your friend down because of it. You have to say like, I'm going to distance myself so I can work on myself so I don't react this way. Yeah, and I don't make you feel bad for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like just communicating and being honest. But like, I feel like in general, those are the things you can't do like there's not a whole list in terms of like how to not be jealous of a friend, because this is like a natural emotion. It's just working on yourself and your confidence and like knowing who you are.
Yeah, exactly. On my side, I found an article from the Every Girl. Do you know that blog?
Every Girl.
I love that blog. They touch upon like a bunch of different articles, whatever. I found an article that they wrote about jealousy, and it was basically like more taking your jealousy and turning it into something productive. So they were saying like you have two roads. Like once you feel jealous, you have two roads that you can take. It's either to feel bad about yourself and then you validate complacency. But the other road is to pick yourself up, to recognize that you're feeling jealous and to do something about it. Also, I was mentioning how, like, it's very easy to compare yourself and be jealous, like we were saying before, because of social media.
Right.
But again, like we've said in multiple episodes, social media is a highlight reel of people's lives.
It is.
So you don't see the full picture. You don't know the struggles that they're going through or, like, what it took them to get to where they are. Like, you don't know if they did, like, something bad, something sketchy to get there, or if, like, they had like just so many external factors, like we were saying, affected. So like you can't look at someone on social media and be like feeling shit about yourself because you're like, oh, how come they're succeeding? They have my dream job, but I've been working so hard, I haven't gotten it, blah, blah, blah. You don't know if they have connections. You don't know like how long they've been working up to that. Like there's so many things that affect it.
And nobody has a perfect, like, the person that you're jealous of or that you're envious is going through the same struggles as you. Yeah. It's just that you don't know, or they don't, you know, put it on social media necessarily. Obviously. And it's even putting it on social media, you're not, like, the feelings that the person is feeling is not going to be evoked just by a post. Yeah. You know what I mean? Exactly. Like, you're going to have an idea, but, like, that shitty feeling, like, everybody kind of goes through that, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And no one's going to give you a step-by-step guide on how to succeed.
Exactly. So it's different
like,
for everybody.
You have to work for it, and you have to find your own way around it in order to get to it.
Exactly. And your definition of success may not be the same as someone else's. So first, like, even evaluate, like, wait, is this success to me? Do I have the same goals as this person, you know? And then maybe if you do, then, okay, you can, like, look up to them, but don't be unrealistic and, like... just make them your role model, you know?
So then the article kind of outlines like, okay, how do we take this jealousy and turn it into something positive? So first they were saying, make a list of what you have that no one else does. It could be something big, or it could be something small, like, oh, my friends always come to me for fashion advice. That's my thing. Yeah. Like literally the littlest thing that you can think
like
of.
Like a strength,
Exactly. Strength, exactly. Strength about yourself that you feel gratitude for, you appreciate about yourself,
and maybe just unique in a way, like in your group of friends, or like...
So just to like outline like, hey, I actually do contribute something good and positive into the world, you know? And it'll kind of boost your mood, because you're like, you'll recognize all these positive things about yourself, and it'll like give you a bit of confidence, especially if like Afi was saying, you're more on the self-esteem side, where that's why you're getting jealous. So that could be a good thing. Another thing, like we said, is to pinpoint why you may be feeling jealous of this particular situation. So then you can kind of be like, okay, I recognize that they have my dream job. That's why I'm jealous of them. Yeah. But then how do I get to that point? Exactly. Like, how can I get my dream job instead? Exactly. So, like, you have to flip the switch and be like, yeah, that's what I like. They're doing that's what I want. Yeah, exactly. But I'm not that person. Yeah. So how do I get there?
Exactly. And your dream job maybe will be different. So you'll be like, okay, this person got to theirs. That's amazing. Yeah. Now, like, it could be like, how do I get to my dream job, basically? Yeah. Like, if you look at the bigger picture. Yeah. Rather than
so then specific. The next point is to be like, okay, let's say they do have your dream job. Yeah. How did they get there? Look at their, like, did they do any internships that led them there? Did they do any classes or like anything to get them there? You can do your own research if you really want. If that's like the one goal that you want, right, you can kind of look around and see like, how did they get there? But again, don't forget that it might take more for you to get there than it did for them, because they could have had internal connections. Yeah. They could have had experience in a particular thing that, like, it's, again, there's so many things that could affect
you can't compare like the timeline, basically.
Exactly.
I also think if, like, you see someone that you're like, okay, whoa, like, this person's really impressive and I want to be like that, maybe if you have the ability to, you can, like, connect with them and maybe ask them, and that makes the person, like, it kind of breaks those unrealistic expectations. They become like a human being, and they can tell you maybe about their struggles, and then it reassures you. You're like, wow, They're just normal,
yeah,
like me.
Exactly. And I feel like sometimes when we're feeling jealous of someone, we kind of put them on a pedestal and like blow them up in our mind. Then like Afi said, if you talk to them, they'll be like, oh yeah, well, I had a shitty experience here, so then I just took a chance here. You know what I mean?
Exactly. This is how I got here. And then you're like,
oh.
I feel like that happens
like
a lot of the times. Yeah. Like even me in my personal life, people that I didn't know, but I knew of, like I had an idea of whether it was at school or someone, I don't know, like mutual friends. And then I spoke to them eventually and I was like, and I became friends and I was like, oh my God, like, I put you on this super, even though you're amazing, but I thought I was less than. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's where it's like, you shouldn't think that way.
For sure. Yeah. And that happens a lot. So then the next tip is to create your own goals and then build an action plan based off of it. It was saying that a lot of the times when you get jealous, it's because you have only that one goal and you're not there yet. But if you have an action plan that you have like little milestones in place that you're like, once I hit this, I'm gonna celebrate that. That's different than if you just have that, like, I want that dream job and I'm not there yet, so I'm gonna feel jealous and sad because of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it might get more frustrating because you have this general idea, but you don't know how to get there. So like Kathy said, in order to make that reality or celebrate the little things and not feel as confused or frustrated, you want to have like a concrete plan, because it's true. Like okay, I want to get there, but if you don't know the little, you can't just get there. There's a whole journey to get there. Yeah, exactly. And the person that you're looking up to probably did the same. So
yeah. And a lot of the times if you have that action plan, you could be at step 2 of 8 to get your dream role. Yeah. And you see someone with that dream job, but you won't be jealous because you're like, okay, well, I'm here. Exactly. Then I just have to accomplish these other steps and I'll be good.
Exactly.
Okay, so the last step is kind of what I already said, but like celebrate the milestones that you have in place and celebrate it, but don't rub it in other people's faces. Yes. Because I feel like when you're jealous sometimes, you might, like you said, you might grow resentful towards certain people. For sure. So then you kind of want to like get revenge and like shove it. Exactly. And be like, yeah, well, I did that. Well, like no one cares. Yeah. Like, yeah, we'll celebrate.
You can be proud of it and happy, and you can be like, hey guys, like,
but don't like,
but look what I got the job that I've been wanting to, or something like that. But don't be like, oh, someone's talking about their achievements and then like, well, you know what?
Yeah, well, I did that.
It just depends how you bring
it up. And your tone, don't
and be genuine. Just be genuine and your friends will be happy for you.
Exactly.
I think that was the main thing. I feel like it's like a complicated emotion, but there isn't like a formula to solve it. It's just a natural feeling and you have to work towards it not becoming like ill-intentioned.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's get more into the topic of comparing timelines. So I saw a lot of articles mentioning that people start comparing timelines around their mid-20s.
That makes sense.
Because that's when like everything like age-wise is like, oh, I should be having a baby here. I should be getting married soon. I should be getting a degree. Exactly. I should be getting a degree. I should have a secure job, blah, blah, blah. And like, it's always like, because I'm this age.
It's always related to age.
Yeah, which like, so dumb.
No, it is. I don't know who started this.
I don't know. Who started so dumb. But like, first of all, everyone has their own pace at which they learn and at which they work. Yeah. So you can't be comparing yourself to let's take the example of reading. Yeah. I am a very slow reader. Okay? Yeah, we're slow readers. I can right now this is like
quick though.
This is like a record this year.
But you're challenging yourself.
Exactly. Like I'm like trying to challenge myself. I don't know how many books I read, but let's say like right now is May. That's 5 months. I used to read like probably 1 book a month, maybe less.
That's still really good.
Which is okay. Well, just let me give the example, okay? But then there are people that can read like 10 books a month and they read like over 100 books in a year. That's like, I don't know how the hell they do that, but I'm not going to compare myself because like I know that my strength is not reading fast. I read slow. I enjoy the book, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But the people that read over 100 books, they do the same thing. It's just they're quick readers.
They're quick. Yeah, there's some people that just, like my cousin is like that. Yeah. He just reads. And I can't, my brain does not. Like, our brains just don't function like that, which is fine. God made us this way. Exactly. What can we do? Like, reading books quick will just make me read more books. But in a short amount of time. So it's not a big deal.
So it's kind of the same thing that if you're like, let's say you're getting a degree, it might take you 5 years compared to someone that it takes 3 years. But like, you shouldn't put yourself down because of that because you're still getting the same education.
It's not less valuable either just because you took a long longer.
You're working at your own pace.
Yeah.
You're learning at your own pace, and you just need to focus on absorbing the information and getting it done.
Yeah.
You know?
I think people also like time, like they value time, so they feel like don't wait, like do things fast rather than taking your time. But it's like, it's all like a race because one day we won't be here or whatever, but it's like, but regardless, you're still gonna
I feel like you're still gonna end up at the same point as everyone else.
Exactly.
It just might take you longer, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I think if you're taking longer in school, sometimes the comparing timelines comes up because like, let's say you haven't graduated yet, but your friends already have full-time jobs, they're already becoming successful.
I've done that.
But it's like, it doesn't matter. Exactly. You're still going to get your full-time job. You're still going to become successful. Yeah. It's just taking you a little more time.
Exactly. 100%. And it might be for the best. Maybe that is the way that you can be more successful, is if you take your time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the other person that you're comparing, for them, maybe doing it in that amount of time was enough for them to be successful also. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't need, if you need a bit of extra time, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be like a set timing for everything, like a number of years you have to go to school, or you should be done your bachelor's in 3 years. Like, no, just go at your pace. And listen. I feel like listen to your body. Like, what is overwhelming you? Are you being productive in terms of like, is this education that you're taking in, or these classes, like, are you actually learning things? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's also important. It's not just the timeline, like, oh, are you finishing it quick or not?
Yeah. And it's also on the flip side. Let's say you're like hiring for a role and someone applies and you're like, oh, they're kind of old to be graduating now. Like, why is that? First, don't think like that, because they could have switched majors. They could have had like a death in the family that really impacted them. They had to take some time off. They had to take time off because they were just overwhelmed. Like, there's so many, again, we keep saying it, but there's so many external factors that you don't know what happens in everyone's lives. So it's like, we can't compare ourselves to anything other than ourselves, because like, it's not your life.
Exactly. And even me though, I feel like I have this like, not stereotype, but like assumption. Like, let's say I see an older student in my class, I'm like, or like, I won't question, I'll just be like, oh, I'll generalize, be like, oh, like university students are this age around, you know what I mean? But also, like Kathy said, I feel like when you see something that you've learned to be the norm, that's out of the norm, you're kind of like, but then it's just unlearning habits at this point. Like,
you just have to backtrack and be like, okay, well, they're living their life. They're doing their own thing. They could be 60. They're getting a degree. Yeah. Good for them. Yeah. I feel like they went back to school. Good for them.
Yeah, exactly. Good for them for real. I feel like we learned this from the media though, like pop culture media, movies, and I think, because I feel like that's where they set up.
Yeah, because it's always like, it is from media because they map out a timeline for us. Which is kind of like, okay, but that's propaganda. Not what propaganda. But that's not what everyone's path is. So we can't all be like, okay, first you go to school, then you work, then you retire, then you die.
Oh my God. I was like, then you die. But I feel like also our mindsets have changed. Like, also our generation, like millennials, Gen Z, and after that, we're not like, that's like kind of the traditional way of thinking, you know. And now we definitely have switched and are more like, not liberal, but
I feel like we're more willing to put ourselves first.
Exactly.
Rather than following what should be done.
We're more modern.
Yeah. Like, people will take time off to travel. Like, 100%. We don't need to start working right away. We don't need to always go to school. We take a year off, things. You know? Yeah, exactly. So I think our generation is learning how to take care of ourselves. Yeah. You know,
putting ourselves first. I feel like we learn from the previous generations, or like let's say our parents complain about something, or we're like,
okay, not gonna do that.
Or like how we
4-day work weeks.
Oh my God, didn't they approve it? Where I saw something.
A lot of countries are doing it. Yeah, but you know what? Like, at first, I was kind of scared to have 4-day work weeks, because I feel like
would it be crunched up?
Yeah, I feel like I'd be rushed and like work late all the time.
But it would just go to the next, like the Monday.
Yeah, I think we just have to unlearn the like, we can't do too much.
Exactly.
You know?
And then your like your due dates, your deadlines would be different. Yeah. They would adjust to that.
Because a lot of the times on Fridays, if I don't have like something urgent to do,
yeah,
I'm taking it very easy. I'm like organizing emails, I'm organizing files, which like that's what my boss encourages, just like organize your
You're doing
stuff.
Work at the end of the day.
But it's like, I could take it off. Like, I don't need to be here. I'm just organizing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting paid. It's fine.
I know. But
or you could get paid to not.
But like, how fun would it be to just have a 4-day work week?
It would be so.
My mom takes Fridays off.
I get what you're saying is because the Friday, you're not using it to do anything crazy.
Yeah, like, so unless I have a deadline that I need to reach,
then you would use it.
It's more like organizing my work and being prepared for the next week.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? So now, how can you fix the behavior of you comparing timelines? So now let's kind of get into how to fix the behavior of you comparing timelines. So first, create inspirational goals rather than concrete goals.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is like, let's say you're creating your goals. Don't make your goal like, I want to earn 200K by the end of the year.
Yeah. Like, allow like, a bit of leeway. Like, give yourself an idea of what would make you happy, maybe.
Instead of doing that, be like, I want to earn a promotion this year.
Exactly.
I want to earn a raise this year. You know, like, kind of make it, like, something that you can... Achievable and something that, like, you want to work towards.
Yeah, exactly. You know? And I feel like if you put, like... Obviously, like, you know, there's a whole, like, SMART goals and you have to be, like, specific. But there's an extent to how specific. Like, if it's, like, if you're looking at salary, like... You still, you know, I feel like don't put too much pressure on yourself either. But like Kathy said, like have some leeway. Like, yes, set your goals, be organized, but also allow yourself to breathe a little bit and be proud of your smaller achievements or general like achievements.
Yeah. And let's say another example can be more on like, let's say the influencer side. Yeah. Don't say like, oh, I want 10,000 followers by the end of the year. No, instead be like, I want to create content that I love and people are gonna engage with. You know?
Exactly.
Like make it more like
it's more genuine, and it comes more from a place of like things I'm passionate about rather than like too number oriented.
Because then I feel like you're just gonna do work just to do work.
Exactly, and you're just gonna keep looking at the numbers, and that's the sole thing that's going to motivate you, which. It's not always the best to just lean on that.
Can create burnout.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so another thing that I mentioned before, but compare yourself to yourself. And just not create a version of who you want to be. Like, look at yourself in the present moment. And be like, okay, where can I go with how I am right now?
Exactly.
Whether it's like working on your mental health because you keep comparing yourself and you're putting yourself down because of it, or whether it's like, okay, I need to be more motivated in order to get to the goals that I want. Like, it's so many things, but just look internally and don't look externally at other people to be like, wow, I'm not like this. I don't work like this, you know?
Exactly. I think it's always good to just compare yourself to your own improvements, like seeing yourself improve and like grow as a person rather than, compare yourself to someone else who just, I feel like it's not even comparable. You can't compare yourself to someone else. That just it doesn't equate. Like,
and there's a difference between being inspired by someone and comparing yourself to them. Because the difference is like, you can be inspired by someone and you're like, wow, I wish to be that, but let me work towards that. I can do it too. Rather than if you compare, you're like, ugh, I'm not like that. So but like, I wish I was. You know, there's like a difference in tone and mentality that you go into.
Like, I feel like when you're inspired by someone, you can like see yourself become that. When you're comparing yourself, it's like a negative view of yourself. You're like putting yourself down.
The next thing is kind of similar, but it's to connect with your inner self and focus on who you are. So like, do you learn and work at a different pace? Like, you have to ask yourself these questions. Do you actually want a family, or are you just jealous that people are like moving on with their lives? You know, there's like that distinction. Are you in the same career that would allow you to earn that amount of money as quickly as the other person? Like, exactly. So there's so many external things that you can't control. And you 100%. Just have to look at yourself and be like, okay, maybe I don't learn as quick. Maybe I don't actually want a family, but it's like, I feel like I'm not moving on with my life at the same pace, you know? So it's just like internal work.
Yeah, even like journaling can help that, just to like see what's bothering you inside or like why you feel the way that you feel. And Journaling always helps.
Yeah.
Self-awareness.
100%. We already mentioned this, but again, remember you're not always seeing the whole picture. So especially through social media, but even sometimes with friends, like if you don't know that they're not communicating certain things to you that may be bothering them, and they could be struggling and they won't bring it up, but you think that like, wow, they're so successful, they're like earning so much money, they have so many followers, like you're like thinking that way, but internally they could be like struggling they could with mental health issues, and you don't know.
I mean, to get to somewhere, there's always like you go through a whole circle of emotions, right? You don't just get to your goals and like the whole way through it's just an easy breeze. Like that wouldn't make sense. It's not realistic. So just don't put them on this unrealistic pedestal, and just know that everyone struggles to get to where I won't say struggle, because not everyone needs to like
there's difficulties that come into play, and
or go through a journey to get to where they
are. What is it called? Not
difficulties,
objections,
obstacles
that everyone has to go through. Last thing, remember that someone else's success is not your failure.
I love that line.
I love that too. I have something else later that I love even more, like that I found. But just remember, everyone has their own personal goals and dreams that may be very different from yours, but you don't see that because you're just focused on like, wow, I want that goal, but that might not be their end goal. That might be a stepping stone in their action plan, right? So just remember that everyone is different from you, basically, to keep it simple.
Very true. And like even failures can be successes. I know it sounds corny, but in terms of like learning, sometimes you learn the biggest things, or maybe you've like, let's say you're going into a field or a degree and you're like, oh, like I did bad in those classes, but maybe that allows you to see that you don't actually want to do that and you're not passionate about this. Exactly. I mean, like even me, you know, like in CJEP, I was like in health science, but I clearly didn't want to do it, and I didn't do it. So it's just like, things are sometimes just meant to be like that.
And remember that you're like, Afi was trying not to say it, but you're always gonna struggle. There's like always going to be a struggle somewhere.
Like I don't want to say like, you're going to go through, everyone's go through anxiety and stuff, but there is usually a general stress or pressure or struggle, like, you know, but it doesn't have to be like, struggle isn't negative, you know, that's what I was trying to say. Like it's not always this.
It helps you work through and recognize your behaviors, helps you recognize how you work through stress. Like it's always a learning experience.
Exactly. And the struggle is defined by it can mean a lot of different things. You know, it could be a small struggle, a bigger struggle. So. And
then one thing I want to end on, I actually found this in a Reddit thread, but I feel like it sounds like a famous quote. You know?
I thought it was a poem.
It sounds like a famous quote, but someone on a Reddit thread wrote it. So they said, "Roses are beautiful, but so are tulips, and they bloom in entirely different seasons."
Stop.
Isn't that perfect?
I feel like it didn't process when I read it on my own, but when you said it.
So it's like, but it's basically saying like, you can achieve your goals, you can achieve your success, but it may not be happening now, and it could be happening now for your friend.
Exactly.
You're just, the next season of your life, that's when it's going to happen.
Exactly. And you're just as valuable as them.
Yeah.
Even if you're not the same as them, and even if you haven't accomplished the same things as them.
Exactly.
Wow.
Isn't it so cute? I was like, wait. Say it again. It's so inspirational.
It's such a good note to end on. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. And as usual, subscribe on YouTube, like, comment, share, leave us any feedback. You can follow us on all our social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram at Wild Thoughts Pod, Facebook as well. Oh, sorry, that was
as well. We went southern.
And if you'd like, you can follow us on our personal Instagrams. Everything will be linked below. And as usual, we're always open to any feedback, any topics you want us to cover, or if you want to be on the podcast, you can message us. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, so see you guys in the next one.